Alright, this evening I'm going to talk about something that I absolutely love. And it's not my wife. But first, I'm going to share with you a story about the most idiotic thing that I have ever done. It began in high school. I thought that I was awesome. And not only was I awesome, but I was invincible. A group of friends and myself decided that we would start the outdoor club at our high school and get people involved in rock climbing and mountain biking and that sort of thing. We would go rock climbing every day after school and on Saturdays. We would take trips on the weekend to go on climbing expeditions, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. Our trips led us one weekend to Blue Lake, which is a lake surrounded by granite cliffs in Idaho. Upon arriving at the lake, we slept the night, woke up in the morning and decided to boulder, which is where you climb not too far off the ground and practice technique so that if you fall, you can just jump to the ground. I was bouldering along this face and I found a crack. Now, in climbing, crack is a beautiful and wonderful thing. I stuck my hands in that crack and pushed my feet against that wall and just followed that crack. And I loved it, and I was really feeling the rock that morning. I followed that crack and it started to angle up a little bit. And I kept following it. I thought it was pretty sweet. Kept following it, hand over hand, until I noticed that I was 50 feet off the ground. Down climbing is significantly more difficult than climbing up a rock face. I'd climbed up far enough that I could not climb down, and knew that I had to complete the next 100 feet, or else. I continued to climb, hand over hand, against that smooth, white stone, cold from an evening in the mountains. I was just feeling it, breathing the fresh air, and got to the top, where my friends told me what an idiot I was. I was lucky that day. In fact, it reminds me of a bumper sticker which I once read that said, "Death toll on Earth, 1 per person." Now, I'm really lucky. I'm extremely lucky that I did not become part of that toll. But I was extremely stupid for doing something so dangerous. Now, I could have had protection. I could have been safe. And this might have been accomplished by placing trad, which I have brought an example of here. This is a nut on a wire attached to a quick draw, which is made of 2 carabiners. Now, when you're climbing, you can climb up a face, and whenever you come to a crack or a slot that has a V in it, where it comes together and downward, you can place a piece of protection, or trad, which stands for traditional gear, in that crack. It's shaped like a wedge, so that when you put it in the crack, thunk, it slides in and gets stuck. Then you have to give it a good tug to make sure that it's placed well. If it's placed well, you have a rope attached to you that you can clip through this carabiner. In that fashion, when you climb above it and you keep climbing up the wall, when you fall, you only fall to that carabiner. Now I want to talk about a couple of things with trad. First, why we should place trad, and second, how exactly it needs to be placed. First, we need to place trad because we need protection. Traditional gear is protection. When we go climbing, we need to protect our lives. It's our only safe line. If you're climbing on a wall that doesn't have bolts that you can clip into, you need to place trad because people care about you. When I climbed that 150-foot wall with no protection, I was 18 years old and had a mother who cared about me very, very much. She would have been extremely upset if I had died that day. So when you climb, think about the people you have at home. Now I have a wife waiting for me at home. Luckily, she's also a climber, so she's usually at the wall with me and gets really anxious if I'm doing anything slightly risky. So now I'm a much safer climber. Second, how exactly you should place it. Whenever you climb a wall, look for cracks and slots in that wall. If there are any and it's a bare face, don't climb it because you can't be protected. You do it just like I told you before. Find a slot, slide your piece of gear into it, check and make sure that it's solid. It's a solid anchor, then clip your rope in. This way, your life will be protected by your traditional gear. And it reminds me of a quote that I heard from Gandhi. Well, I didn't hear it in person, but I read it. Which said, live as if you'll die tomorrow. Learn as if you'll live forever. There's much we have to learn in this life. And I hope that one of those things can be safety issues like placing trash. That way we can live forever.